So welcome to today's lecture. This lecture is going to be an introductory lecture on HRM. In this lecture, we are going to talk about what is HRM, what is human resource management, which megatrends determine future challenges in HRM, what are key fields of action in HRM. Okay, so the definition of HRM reads something like this. All planned and control activities of an organization to build and maintain the relation between employees and the organization in order to meet both business objectives and employee expectations. Yeah, so a lot of words. But what does this mean? Okay, let's look at the definition. Let's break it down into smaller parts and look at each fragment individually. So the first part is the term human resource management itself. And whenever we are talking about the word management, what we are almost always talking about are activities like planning and controlling. These are the fundamental aspects of what management entails. So let's say that you are playing a football game. One way of playing that game is that you kick the ball like a madman and try to hit it towards the goal of an opponent. That's one way of doing it. The other way would be you plan how you're gonna pass the ball. You plan your attacking strategies. You plan your defensive strategies. Uh, you plan how the wings are gonna play, how the midfield is gonna play. Uh, Whether you want to have an offside trap, whether you want to take long shots, whether you want to uh, dribble the last man, so on and so forth. So you plan uh, every small aspect of how the game is going to take place even before the game starts. So we do this because planning obviously gives us a better understanding and prepares us basically for to deal with all the adversaries that might come up in the challenge that we are facing, which in this case is playing a football game. The next aspect is controlling, which means making sure that the plan works and things actually do happen as the way we intended them to happen. So that's what it is, plan and control activities of an organization. So, what's an organization? Are companies not an organization? Yes, they are. But are there other things which resides outside the realm of companies, which can still be called as organization? For example, let's say the Red Cross or uh, the Mir Foundation, things like this. So these are not companies in principle. They do not work like companies. They don't follow the same structure of companies, and they do not even have the same intentions as companies do. But does that mean they are not organized? uh, of course they are organized. So they are run with planning and coordination and controlling and direction. So they are organized and that requires management. uh, so basically you can think of organization as a superset and companies as a subset of this superset. Therefore I prefer the word organization because um, it's more exhaustive, so it takes care uh, uh, of of all bodies that needs management. Okay, so the third aspect of the definition is about relationships. That is, all planned and control activities of an organization to build and maintain relationships between the organization and the employees. So most of the time, these relationships are for profit. Uh, all individual parties which are involved in almost any sorts of professional relationships are there to get something out of it. Uh, so the organization gets skills, talent, uh, and work done from you, uh, and in return you get something like perks, job security, money, and this always has to balance out. Only then the relationship is healthy, and if the relationship is healthy, only then it can sustain. So building this kind of relationships and making them sustainable is a big part of what HRM is all about. And the way one does that is through understanding the needs of both the parties. So the needs of organization are their organizational objectives, and the needs of employees are certain employee expectations. For example, employee would expectation from a company would be they get so and so salary, or they get some sort of contract which would ensure their job safety, or some insurance or something like that. So making sure that needs are satisfied on both ends, and not only that they are satisfied in equilibrium, uh, is is the key principle of human resource management. Okay, now let's talk about some key trends that HR management as a field would be deeply impacted by. The first trend that I want to talk about here is innovation. Uh, so this is very much connected with technology, with the advent of science and technology in the recent years. The way people work has been fundamentally changing. Previously, the work was predominantly physical work, and people used to work a lot by hand. But now, as you can see, the trend this has been consistently decreasing, and instead, knowledge work is on the rise. In fact, by 2020, by this year, 75% of all works that people do is going to be knowledge work. I mean, just look at the lecture that I'm making now. You guys are viewing this lecture on some video sharing website. 10 years ago, there were none, if any, of such sorts of educational content being made by any professor, and not just in India, anywhere in the world. Now, with the use of technology, you have this lecture at your fingertips, one click away. You see, this is what technology does. Technology is an enabler. It empowers people to do things more easily, more efficiently, and more quickly. So regardless of how whether you are good or not in with use of technology, the market dynamics are going to work in such a way that they are going to push people towards using more and more technology, simply because it is more profitable to use. So if you are not technologically well versed, very soon you will be outdated. And you can see this principle in all the sectors there are. uh, every sector there is in this world has is adopting technologies in some or the other way. So people are working quite differently, and they have to have different set of skills, and they have to constantly learn new skills. And as HR managers, you have to take this into consideration. Your HR strategy should also have technology and technology implementations as one of its key facet. Okay, so another mega trend is globalization. So technology has not only advanced our world, it has also got our world closer. Transportation is much easier, much faster, much safer, and electronic and digital technology have revolutionized communication. So for example, if you are in United States and you go to a McDonald's shop and you order your burger, so a drive-through McDonald's shop, you're supposed to go there, you're supposed to press a button, and then some employee will speak to you through a microphone. You don't actually see that employee, but he will speak to you through microphone, and he would ask you how your day is and what do you want, and so on and so forth. So he would take your order, and you would be thinking that that employee is sitting inside a cabin there, and he's taking your order, writing it down, and passing it on to the chef. but instead that employee is sitting somewhere in India or in Bangladesh or somewhere like that. So that's how that's how communication, the ease of communication have changed the way people do business, and with that also entails that people from different culture, different background, different race, different ethnicities are coming together to make a business work or make an organization work. And as an HR manager, it's your responsibility to make sure that all these people feel at home. Therefore, the demography that uh, people were working with in the previous era, the demography of employees that an organization had has been considerably changing. But not just the demography of the employees, the demography of uh, the the customers and clients that they are serving is also considerably changing, and this puts some degree of pressure on organization to uh, to have some degree of increased social awareness or social empathy while working with people from various backgrounds. Another mega trend is what we call Web 2.0. That is nothing but the change really in the structure of the World Wide Web. So previously the structure was pretty simple. So there was one center point, like a website of an organization, a website of a company, or something like that, and that used to disperse information from one focal point to uh, different nodes as in consumer nodes. But we have seen that the structure has changed considerably over the recent years. Now is everyone sharing information with everyone else. A very easy to understand example of this notion is the comments and review section of some e-commerce website like Amazon. When people really uh, put other buyers' opinion as the key deciding factor into their purchase decision. And it is also logical, I think, because there is no incentive for other people, other buyers, to do any sorts of false marketing. So therefore their word has more credibility associated with it. uh, Therefore that becomes a key factors in purchase decisions. And this happens with not just that, but with a whole myriad of things. For example, blogs, uh, YouTube videos, and other user generated content. uh, this sort of content has really enriched the World Wide Web, and not just that, it has companies have started to realize that they can use such sort of content for their benefit. For example, into making key decisions, uh, companies often look at what their customers have to say, and the way they do this is by tracking customer data and seeing what their customer preferences are, and then from that deriving conclusions as to what their needs are. So this way Web 2.0 is not only changing the way uh, customers react with businesses, but also the way businesses react uh, with customers or to customers. And therefore this becomes a key trend in human resource management, because it helps managers to make more informed decisions. The last megatrend that I want to talk about today is the change in our value system and our moral codes. The things which are important to us today are quite different from the things that were important to our parents or the generation before that. For example, we nowadays see a lot of women aspiring to have a career in the workforce. Previously, majority of women aspired to be housewives, and this has caused change in the demographics.
which also means that we need to again incorporate strategies to make different demographics feel at home at workplace. Previously, in era before this, people were not so keen on relocating and moving to big cities for an improved lifestyle. Now, this modern generation is quite okay to travel and to relocate as and when required by the organization, and uh, many more things like that. So a change in basic value system of a society is is not only affecting the society but is also affecting the organizations which are part of the societies. And therefore a good HR management strategy entails consideration of this mega trend. Okay, so that's all for today, folks. I hope you learned something valuable today, um, and I hope I see you again in the next lectures. Thank you for your time. Bye bye. Happy learning.